Leading up to its launch, it had a bunch of hype around it. Well, first you could play as a cat, which probably convinced most people to buy it for that reason, but also it was made by Annapurna Interactive, and you're probably looking at this video and saying to yourself, who the hell is that? Well, they made a bunch of outstanding indies in the past like Solar Ash, Outer Wilds, and even 12 Minutes, so they built quite the repertoire of the past few years. The latest game, Stray, which is what we're talking about now, has also broken the record for the most wishlisted game on Steam. Ever. But was it deserved? Was the game overhyped? And is it the perfect cat game? Yeah, I'm not holding back on cat puns for this one. So let's run into a cyberpunk-like city full of robots, bounce atop tricky landscapes, and sleep straight into this mediocre review. The story for Stray starts off with a bunch of stray cats trekking around an abandoned facility. In the process, our cat, which since he's nameless, we'll just call him George for the sake of my sanity, loses his footing and falls down to a cyberpunk-esque city populated with robots instead of humans. You also meet a group of robots known as the Outsiders, where their main goal is to find an escape to the outside world. The story for this game, while extremely short, clocking about 5 hours long, is an extremely charming story that keeps you hooked on straight into the end. For cat George here, George or the cat is an amazing protagonist even though he's nameless and doesn't talk since he's a mute protagonist. But what the developers really nailed was making you feel like a cat and not a human. The cat is not here to bait people into buying this game. It's for you to experience what being a cat can feel like in a video game story, and Stray completely nails that. Pacing is absolutely perfect in this game. Come on, I had to say it. But in all seriousness, the game is really well paced and doesn't miss a beat and tells you everything in a simple and not overly complex way. Overall, the story is amazing, and even if you're surrounded by robots in the story instead of humans, you feel attached to them, as they're like humans, but they still function like robots, but not just dead, lifeless robots, which is really hard to nail. Stray's gameplay is not overly complex or hard, but it's more of a simple and calming game experience. The game has you as a cat, and of course, since you're a cat, you don't necessarily have any superhuman-like abilities. So in replace of that, we have B12, a robot companion throughout the city that helps you store your inventory, hack doors, or help you lead the way into the next objective. Other than that, the platforming for this game is very simple with very little variety of controls. Run, jump to different places, meow, and eat a square triangle to interact with items are almost all of the controls in the game. But what the game does really well is incorporate these simple gameplay mechanics into puzzles. These nimble yet small and not hard puzzles are not a pain to get through, they are fun to get through. The puzzle making in this game might be a little too easy for people who really love puzzles, but for the casual game it serves just well. The level design is great at best, with unique levels and a lot of action sequences, but they'll go way over the top. In the game, you also encounter Zergs, a species that tries to eat you and also looks like a ladybug stuffed with candy corn. Then there's also these sentinel drones which try to zap you with electricity when they get discovered by their big annoying beam of light. Even if the gameplay aspect of the game doesn't change the adventuring genre in a whole big way, the gameplay is simple and doesn't go overly ambitious in its ideas. The open world in this game is very beautiful and very well created. Neon lights, very lightful NPCs, and a very immersive cat atmosphere in general. Yeah, that wasn't that creative. In the game, there are also 3 main areas to visit as you explore throughout the story: the slums, Ant Village, and Midtown. These cities, while small, are cool to explore around. There are also some things to do, like trying to find all the music sheets for a musician, or finding energy drink cans to buy stuff from the marketplace. But other than that, in the first area, there is not much to do. Sure, there are memories to find for B12 scattered in secret areas across cities and secret safes, and even lockets to find, or even getting the ability to meow, which is definitely a game-breaking feature. I wish there's more to do. I wish there's customization options for a cat, or even buying upgrades to BD1 or something that can help you across the game. And I think with a beautiful world like this, they really missed the opportunity on that one. But the NPCs, as we call them, robots, are really great, to be honest. They kind of feel like humans, but they feel like they have life in them and not lifeless. They have detail worked into them, and I really like the extra bit of work the devs made to create these robots to just not be normal NPCs to populate the city. There are also things to do around the city that are designed for the cat. For example, sleeping places, water pots to drink from, or scratching a door to hear that annoying scratch sound we all despise. Overall, the world, while extremely beautiful, lacks a lot of other activities, and even while there's not nothing to do, and there's some things to do here, I feel like they should have added more, but still, the cities are really good, and the atmosphere is the most immersive I have ever experienced. Before we end off this mediocre review, I want to quickly talk about how amazing the soundtrack is. Firstly, I don't think it's on the skirts of being as great as, well, the Undertale soundtrack, but still really amazing to listen to. The soundtrack is calming and really well made, and fits the game well. It's sort of eerie but not scary, and even when you go to the right spot in an objective, the game's music plays a more upbeat tune to remind you, you're here, you're in the right spot. I personally think the video game soundtrack is really immersive, and I would add this to a playlist on Spotify, and in my case, Amazon Music. Stray, in my opinion, is a meow-sterpiece. Oh gosh, I promise that's the last one. But seriously, this game is amazing, beautiful, heartwarming, and a really emotional roller coaster ride all the way to the end. I think the game developers did an absolutely amazing job creating this perfect representation of what a cat game should be. So for the verdict, we'll give this game an amazing score of 10 out of 10. The first ever mediocre perfect score. And that's the end of another mediocre review. Oh, frick!